This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With the Walmart app, you can squeeze in those final days of summer and nail that back-to-school shopping list. So keep working on that tan and let Walmart Express Delivery handle the rest. Chromebooks, Clorox wipes, Sharpies, glue sticks, pens, pencils, and more. All delivered in as fast as an hour. So pour yourself another iced tea. Summer's not over. Last-minute back-to-school supplies delivered fast. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new. Subject to availability. Fees and restrictions apply.
Hey guys, and welcome to the podcast. I'm really delighted about today's guest, Larry Dix, and he's calling in from Virginia. Originally, he's an Austinite, and he is a thought leader. He teaches people how to influence their audiences, how to build an audience, how to communicate through entrepreneur speaking, and he's an entrepreneur and mentor to a lot. I'm really happy to have him on the show to inspire the audience and the guests and deliver great values. Larry, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be here. Good to see a good old boy from Texas.
My brother-in-law, his name is Larry too. But talk about how you came to be doing what you're doing. Sounds like you're doing a lot of great work and influencing a lot of people.
Yeah, my story is kind of like most entrepreneurs. You don't hear about it. I just started out working in a lumberyard in Austin, Texas. And I wasn't going to go to college. My dad's like, got to get a job. So I went and got a job. I was 142 out of 147 in my graduating class. So clearly college wasn't something I was going to do. And honestly, I wanted to be a business owner. Back then, we didn't call it entrepreneurship. I just wanted to own a business. And if you asked me that, 45 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to answer it. I didn't know what that meant. And it just started there. And I got moved up very quickly in this big company and became a sales guy at 21, outside salesman. I was the youngest salesman in the history of the company. And I just found I had a knack for sales. My mom always said I did. I just didn't realize it. And it just took off and I started selling. Then I got into management. And then I built my first manufacturing facility when I was, I think, right at 29 years old for a company. So it just morphed into that. And then eventually I realized I build roof trusses and floor trusses for houses, my primary business. And I thought, man, these guys make good money at this. And I went out and borrowed $250,000 and started a business literally was broke. And in 6 months I was broke again. And then I just kept driving and pushing, and I could sit here and talk for an hour, but yeah. And that's just how it all started. And then I got into that, made some money, bought a lot of real estate. Now I raise cattle, keynote speaker, author. And I'm as energetic at 62 as I was when I was 16, quite honestly.
Yeah. And a lot of people I talk to, sounds like a lot of self-made millionaires, entrepreneurs, most of them achieved it through either a business or real estate. And then for the equity millionaires, they just basically hustled, saved, and invested, which is fantastic. It's a good setting for what we're going to talk about is who's your client avatar? Who do you work with? You work with just super influencers, the next generation? Who works with you?
It's actually all entrepreneurs. A couple of them one of them is actually a world-renowned artist. Guy travels all over the world and does artistry. Another one's a weightlifter. Another guy works for a hedge fund, people like that. And then a couple of them are just general entrepreneurs trying to figure it out, trying to scale their business and trying to understand. I try to help them drive that through employee retention. And I'm a big customer service. If you look at my main website, it says we are a customer service business that manufactures roof and floor trusses. So that's what I try to really help them. And in mentoring and business coaching is easy because you don't have an emotional attachment. So you can be very direct and to the point and then try to keep people on task. And it works out really well. I actually enjoy it quite a bit. I didn't know if I would. But I've actually enjoyed it a lot more than I actually thought I would.
Interesting. Well, what are your clients? What are they most frustrated with, or what do you see them having the most challenges with, questions, frustrations to seek you?
The number one thing that every one of my guys struggle with is employees. People are the hardest part of the equation. I've been very blessed. I tell people all the time, my number one success that I've had over the last 26 and a half years is I have the first employees I ever hired. And so people talk about mentorship. And when you think of mentorship, right, we think of all the people that are going to give us this great advice. I look at it differently. It's like I had great mentors and bad mentors, but they taught me how to manage people. So when I was with an owner of a company that didn't treat me well, I'd be like, I don't want to treat my employees that way. I don't want to be, because I know how I would feel when you'd walk in a room, if you're just going to get your head blasted or whatever. You never knew how to move. And then you'd go into the one guy and he'd be like, Larry, how can I help you? You know what's going on? I'd be like, I got this problem. That's not a problem. And so anyway, that's where I try to coach people on is like, take care of your people, treat them like you want to be treated. And don't get it. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance as an entrepreneur. Yeah. You got to be confident, but if you're arrogant, nobody really wants to be around that guy. So I've just been a very humble, confident guy, because you got to be able to go and you walk in and tell employees that everything's great and you don't know if their check's going to be clear.
Yeah.
So I just really believe in customer service and employee retention and just really drive that. And I think we're going to have a massive pendulum swing back to customer service. I really do believe that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the influence of technology, especially with artificial intelligence. And I really love this idea because I worked with, it might surprise you, some doctors are quite dishonest. And so I saw that and I didn't want to be that. And I wanted to treat my customers well. So because you're an entrepreneur, what made you decide to go that path? Because you could do anything. You basically built your real estate portfolio to have your freedoms. What made you decide to do what you're doing?
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Yeah, you broke up. I think so. You were asking, you're going to have to repeat the question. I'm sorry. I did break up.
Oh, so how did you do because you can do basically anything you want to.
I could have done anything. So here's something this is a great piece of advice for entrepreneurs. Don't get locked in on just one thing. Like I'm going to come out and I'm going to do this and this is what I'm going to do. What I did was I wanted to own a business. So I became a great sales guy. And then I learned this and I learned that. And what it did for me was that I was able to say, I like this. I don't like this. I like this. And if you ask people, most people think I'm a banker because they think of trust, right? I build wooden trusses that go on top of houses. And I just went that way because that was just where my path led me. And I took advantage of every opportunity. Guy asked me if I wanted to run a trust plant when I'm 26 years old. And I'm like, yeah. And he hands me a piece of paper and says, this is a P&L statement. I'm like, what does P&L stand for? He goes, that's your profit and loss statement. He goes, that's what that's going to be your book report, your report card. And you know what I did? I went and learned about balance sheets and financials and P&Ls and how cash flow projections work. And now you and I can do that in 2 seconds on a computer screen. We had to go to the library and buy books and check books out. And so anyway, my point is I just never had a path. I just knew I wanted to own a business and that's just where it ended up. So I encourage people to not because I think you get locked in on something and there's the opportunity of a lifetime to be just standing right beside you.
I love that. Spoken like a true entrepreneur. A follow-up question I have for you is, because you've written a book and you coach and mentor a lot of people. What made you decide to do that as opposed to just continually build your business or build your real estate portfolio?
So it's a great question. So my mom dies about 5 years ago. And I was talking to somebody, and I'm a very decisive person. Like when I decide to do something, I'm going to do it. And I've been talking about writing a book, and I was still running the real estate, raising cattle, running manufacturing. And I met with 3 people in 2 weeks that said, Larry, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I'm like, yeah, I want to. I said, but man, I can barely put 2 sentences together, and I have no formal education. He goes, oh, I can help you with that. And he got me in touch with a publicist, and 2 weeks later, I signed a deal with them, and I started writing a book, and 5 months later, I wrote it. And it was great because it was almost therapy, because I learned that there were so many things about myself I didn't even remember. And I'd go back and start writing about stuff since I started working at 11 years old. And that's how it really came. And I'm already writing my second book. It should be finished up, where our goal is to have it published by the 23rd of October, called Built Not Born instead of Born or Made. And now I'm on the path to write 5 books now.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. And I all of a sudden I realized I could enjoy it. I could write, and then someone else could come in and do all the literature part in it. And then I just did my first Audible in my first book. Anybody who does that, Chris, and they did it themselves, go up and give them a high five. That's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I spent 16 hours in the studio stammering and acting. And if you heard it, you'd realize, yeah, no wonder he graduated 142 out of 47. He can barely read. It was terrible. Now they maybe sound real smart.
Yeah. It's funny. Amazing. And it's funny. A lot of entrepreneurs, they graduate at the bottom of the class, but they're actually the most successful, because I think school just basically prepares you to work for a company and become an employee. The reason why I asked that question before is because some people, they're like, for example, people that love real estate, they love the numbers, or they want to build it's challenging to them. They love finance, and others they're seeking
in the deal.
In the deal, exactly. Yeah. Art of the deal. And some people are impact. So what are your thoughts on impact driven versus like money as a driver?
My initial deal was money. No question. I'm 15 years old. I tell my parents I'm going to buy a dog. So what? I'm like, I had a job and I want to buy a dog. And they said, what kind of dog you to buy? And I said, I'm going to buy me a Cocker Spaniel. Don't ask me why I bought a Cocker Spaniel. Beautiful dog. So guess what I named my dog at 15 years old? Million. Okay. His name was Million. And I didn't even know what that meant. Again, think about that. Go back 40, 44, 45 years ago. If you got a newspaper or a magazine, that was unusual, right? And so I don't even know where I got that, but I was just very driven by money. Then what happened was I realized as I got on the other side and was trying to make money and how hard it actually was, that I just started realizing money was a tool. And it could get you this or that. And then that's when I didn't buy my first piece of real estate until 2017. Wow. Now I own 42 properties now. And because I started buying stuff and started realizing the cash flow and the generation and stuff like that, and income producing properties. And that's how it all works. So now to me, money is just a tool. It's more of the excitement in trying to close a deal, scrambling, getting a deal that maybe someone else doesn't know about. I just bought 9 units that never made it on the market. Nobody knew I bought it. That's what gets me excited. The numbers are the numbers, right? They're going to if the numbers work, you buy it. If they don't, you don't. And that's it. And then I had to teach myself how not to get caught up in everything, get excited. So what I did as an entrepreneur is I set up very defined boundaries. And so when I get a piece of property, I put it in a spreadsheet that I built. It's super simple. And if it doesn't come up with a number there, I just walk away. If it comes up with a number, then I know it's a deal. So it takes all the emotional part of it out. As an entrepreneur, we get, I can make this, I can do this. And then it ends up being a bad deal. So at 62, you got to hit home runs. You can't be hitting singles and doubles now. I got to hit home runs. So I don't do as many deals. They just typically fall in, and they're the ones that nobody knows about. And that's what I get excited about.
Yeah. It's amazing because I heard this really great quote about, I think he was talking about once you reach a certain number, it's just about the game. And it's like adding numbers to the scoreboard, because it's fascinating how we view money.
Because once you have a decent house, I've never been house poor. So I live in a simple house. I have a 186 acre farm. I'm into my car barn behind me. I've got cars and I got everything I need. So everything, like I said, is just kind of fun at this point, and just trying to get more and leave a legacy for my grandchildren and my children.
Yeah. So what I really love is what are some of the mindset shifts or routines or habits that moved you from stuck to unstuck?
So the number one thing is I have incredible discipline. Okay. So we call it the 4Ds. You make decisions, you get discipline, you have determination, and you deliver. Okay. That's a speech that I write and talk about. And so, or wrote and I talk about. And so my number one thing that I have is I have incredible discipline. I get up every morning at 4:00. I get up, I read the Wall Street Journal, I read the local newspaper. My coffee burns for 5 minutes. I do it on a cook's top stove. I don't even use a plug-in. And everything I do is in systematic order. And my workouts are an hour to an hour and 40 minutes. And I'm like sauna, cold plunge. I get in my sauna after I've read my Bible and I go in there, I turn the lights out and I pray. And I do that for 12 minutes. And everything I do is just, and so that's how I shifted, because you need that discipline. I tell people, this is the analogy I use is, so by the time somebody gets to me by 8:00 in the morning, I've built a foundation that is so structurally strong that when you come at me, I'm going to take you down. If you come at me aggressively, and these are metaphors, but just because I've already been up for 4 hours, you're just drinking your first cup of coffee. And that just gives me a huge advantage. So that's how I use everything to shift, because I write fear is a liar and defeat is overrated. Fear, man, it's in your brain. But I'm so far ahead of most people. And that's how I made that shift. And I didn't know that I was determined until I wrote my first book. And then I went back and looked and I'm like, I've been doing this since I was like 10 years old. I think it was 11 years old. I started seeing these things and I was writing about them. I'm like, I've been that way. So that's been my number one shift. It's because what I do, and then decision, if people go, I'm going to start working out January 1st. No, when I started writing a book, I started writing like middle of October on a Monday. I wrote every night from 7:30 to 8:30 for 5 months.
Oh,
I never missed a day. So I made a decision. And then that discipline creates determination, motivation. Walls are going to come up. You go through them, around them, under them, or over them. That creates that. And then you deliver. What is that? Deliver customer service, deliver to your employees. And that's how I shift everything. I figure out how to get into one of those. And if I follow those 4 steps, it gets me through it every single time.
wow. And what do you do about, like, for example, just people who say you get at 4 a.m. and you're in the gym for 2 hours, they just look at you like you're crazy, or
you are.
How do you handle that? You just accept it? And
I just accept it, because you got to think about it. So for people like me, I think you're crazy for not doing it.
Yeah.
Because for me, I don't understand why people don't do this every day. Like, I feel good. I fall asleep by 9:15 every night. I punch the clock and get up at 4:00. So for me, it's like, you're a doctor, right? Or are you a doctor, or you have a doctorate? I know it's both.
I'm a doctor.
Yeah, you're a doctor. That's hard, right? And so people just think, oh, why would you be a doctor? I'm thinking, why would you be a doctor? But people think you're crazy because you went to school for 10, 12 years and worked, and you don't make any money for the first 15 years going from college. And plenty of people think you're crazy.
Yeah.
And then what you find out when you get to be 62 is that, guess what? Everybody's crazy, man. Mine's just different than other people. That's all. My family, I still think I'm the calmest guy in the room. And my family's like, you're not the calmest guy in the room.
Wow.
But I think I'm super calm and laid back and easy to get along with. I'm the nicest guy you'd ever meet. I get a little fiery.
And then a follow-up question is, how do you deal with your inner critic? Like, for example, someone listening to this, they're out of shape, or their finances or their relationships not where they want it, and they're doing all these things. They're like waking up but they're not seeing results. And then they're like, their inner critics, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. How do you deal with that?
I don't deal with it well sometimes. Sometimes I do really good, and there are days that I don't. But that's the discipline of doing the same things, being physically. Look, the way I tell everybody is, I've been fat before, and I didn't get fat overnight, and I'm not going to get skinny overnight. And you know what? I wanted a 911 turbo. The big tail, the wide body was a 930 since I can remember, 15 years old. You know how old I was when I got my first 911 turbo? 57 years old. It's called deferred gratification. It took me that long to be able to raise my children, get financially secure, do all the responsibility thing. Then that was my bonus, but it took me 45, 50 years to get that. But the inner critic, think about entrepreneurship as this. And I tell everybody the same story. It's peaks and valleys. Everybody sees you at the peak, 90% of the time, you're either coming out of the crap or you're going into the crap. And that's the way it is. Everybody sees you at the top, like, oh, you're so successful. I'm like, yeah, this week.
No.
But man, let me tell you what. I mean, Chris, I've had plenty of pity parties. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and act, oh, look at Larry. He's got it all figured out. There are days that I don't think I could run a dadgum lemonade stand. When something goes wrong and people are fussing because you manufactured something wrong or delivered it, or you're not hitting dates, or someone's not paying you, or you're not paying them fast enough. And yeah, it hurts. But the entrepreneur gets up and says, all right, today's a new day. Let's do it again. But if you build that foundation, you're building that momentum, and then it just keeps snowballing throughout the day. So if someone hits you, you're already got a little bit of bigger snowball instead of a little bitty snow cone. And that's just kind of the way I look at it.
Interesting. Because I love this, because it's a lot of resonates, because I listen to David Goggins and a lot of these kind of just Navy
Goggins
SEAL.
is amazing. He's crazy, right?
Yeah.
He's crazy. But you're like, I get it. I do. You can't see my hands. I have calluses on my hands because I work out every day. I was feeding a calf 45 minutes ago, trying to make sure it was going to live, grabbing calves out here, and then I clean up and come in here. That's what entrepreneurs do. Goggins is a beast, though.
Yeah. The stories running marathon for a week, just back to back, it takes me a week to recover from one, and then he's doing, and then just like,
or they go out and do 100 miles. And I'm thinking, I've done 2 marathons. My first one, I could barely walk the next day. And then the second was a little bit easier. And I've run a lot of miles, but but he's really, what he's doing is it's all about the mental toughness. Yeah. And I am mentally as tough as any. I'm not going to sit and act like I'm David Goggins. Don't get me wrong, but I have incredible mental toughness, because like, I believe when the economies get shaky or whatever, I'm always going to win, because I'm just going to outwork you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get up at 4:00 where you're going, oh man, I should have done this. Get up, do it again, beat your head against the door, get up and do it again. And just eventually you chip away at the wall and you get through it. And then the other side, you're like, oh, and then you look back and go, it wasn't that hard. 3 years later, whatever. Yeah.
You mentioned where people just see the highlight, but what is the biggest misconception people have about success? What do they need to hear? And how do you turn setbacks into, how do you keep going even in the face of failure?
You can be defeated or inspired. It's your choice. I choose to take that defeat and figure out a way to inspire me. And my philosophy is I tell myself I will never let that happen again. And that's what I do. And I will do whatever I have to do that. And I build that up, and you're going to get your butt kicked. You're going to lose 9 times out of 10, but you're fighting for that one victory. I use the baseball analogy, right? If you strike out 7 out of 10 times in baseball, you're a god, because you're batting 300. Entrepreneurs, we're happy if we're batting 100, because you're just going to get punched all the time, and it's day by day. And again, it's all mental. To me, I didn't realize how much of a mental game it was until I really started coaching more and more people. And I see being a doctor, it's hard. You got patience. You couldn't pay me to be a doctor. If you told me right now, oh, Larry, I make you a doctor, I'd be like, yeah, good luck. I'm not going to be no doctor. Patience alone, right? And then you got, but it's all hard. And I've the Born or Made podcast, right? So I interview entrepreneurs all the time. You find they're all hard workers. There's no shortcuts. 99.9% of us are never going to end up on Forbes. We're just out here trying to make a living. And we employ 80% of the U.S. population. Work for guys like me and you.
Yeah.
So we make it happen. We just don't sell newspapers. And quite honestly, I don't want to sell newspapers. I want to sell books. Because I get more joy out of helping people. That's one thing I did learn through this coaching stuff. And I get so much joy out of watching guys win, whatever that is to them. And if they make $100,000 a year and they're happy, I'm right there. I'm like, you go, man. It's all about that. I just love helping people.
Yeah. We have a question from the audience. In a lot of entrepreneurs and people such as yourself, a lot of them are in shape and they're in fitness. Why do entrepreneurs prioritize their physical? Is it vanity or is it just something else?
I think it's a little bit of everything. Is there vanity? Absolutely. I wouldn't sit here and tell you there's not. But because what happens is, I learned this, is when I walk in the room, I'm 5'7", so I'm 5 foot nothing. I'm 175 pounds. I'm lean. But when I walk in the room, people are like, dang, he's in shape. Huh. He must work hard every day. I wonder what he's got. What's he doing different? So for me, it's not the vanity. It's the fact that I'm building the distance, but it does give me an advantage when I walk in the room. And like I said, when you're 5'7", you're not bringing a lot to the game. But when I walk in and I don't wear tight shirts very often or whatever, but I'm dressed nice, but you can tell I'm in shape. And I just think that puts you at such a different level. So yeah, is there vanity? Some of it is for sure, but I really don't care because it's all about me when I'm doing this. I'm trying to build that. And then when you're coaching people and you say, dude, I need you to do 20 push-ups, start with 5 a day and let's start working up. When I started doing pull-ups again 2 years ago, I could barely do one. I did 65 today and that's a light day. Now there's sets of 5. I'm not sitting there buzzing out 65, but I'm building that muscle at 62 and it just gives you a huge advantage and it just builds the mental side, right? It just gives you that. So to me, and then you can inspect what you expect. So when you're coaching somebody, I had one of my guys, I got to get on this stuff. I'm like, dude, you didn't get fat overnight. He said, what do you mean? I said, it took me 22 months to lose 25 pounds. I said, that's how you lose weight.
Wow.
Right? It's as a doctor, you lose me 30 pounds in 45 days, I'll put on 50 and 60.
Yeah. It's amazing because we had a lecture when I was a med student and it was like, if you eat one extra bite every day for the rest of your life, you'll gain, it was almost like 100 pounds. It was something incredible. It's just like that small teeny bite, or if you eat at the wrong time or eat the wrong things. A lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, they prioritize because it's about energy. It's physical energy and they can handle things throughout the day, make better decisions.
I couldn't operate at the level I operate if I was in bad shape. I've tried it. I've been bad. Look, you're talking to a guy who's been fat, skinny, run marathons, tough mutters. There's not a lot of stuff I haven't done. And I tell you what, I do a lot better. And the other thing too is I don't drink. And when I quit drinking, Doc, I said, I want to call you doctor. Yeah, Chris is that when I quit drinking, game changer. Like then my operating level went from here to here.
Wow.
Look, and I don't drink at all. And I just made a decision. I was talking to a guy one day and he goes, yeah, I've been sober for 17 years. I'd really cut way back over the years. The older you get, they hurt a little more. And that day I was sitting on a podcast and I'm like, I'm never drinking again. And I've never drank since that day.
And when you say another level, what do you mean in terms of
energy wise, clarity, focus? You may not drink or know. I can only speak to myself. When you get to be older, you drink and lose an entire day. And then you get today, then the next day. Now I don't have that. I pop up at 4:00 in the morning. I mean, by 4:30, I'm ready to roll, man. I've already had electrolytes, my creatine. I'm on my first cup of coffee, reading papers. There's nothing where if you're hungover and you feel crappy and it takes you till noon and you're beating, and then you talk about mental, then you're like, yeah, you're beating your inside, the little guys, and they're like, you idiot, you know better than this. You're better than that. And then me, I don't have that. I just get up and go, dang, I feel good. Man, I wish I'd have went to bed about 9:30 instead of 10.
Yeah,
that's what I say. Not, well, I knew if I would have stopped at 3, I wouldn't have been so bad, but I had to go 4 because entrepreneurs are good at that stuff.
Right.
We're not, no entrepreneurs. We're not quitters. So when it comes to alcohol, that's not a good thing.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was a social drinker and I wasn't an alcoholic, but I just, as I aged, I didn't like the effect. I didn't like how I would feel because I get flushed and just sometimes I might get headaches and just palpitations, and it just, as I aged, I didn't feel the best.
I felt great doing it. It was the next day that killed me. And then I would spend a day beating again. I'd spend 3 days go, man, you suck. You shouldn't, come on, man, Dix, you're better than that. Man, you can do this. And then finally I was divine intervention. I was sitting there talking to John on a podcast and he told me that I'm like, I'm never drinking again. I've never drank since. And there's actually a great movement moving. You're starting to see even like Rogan now all of a sudden talking about he doesn't drink anymore. And all these guys are starting to talk about it because it just puts you at a different operating level.
Yeah.
And you're under control. You're in control all the time.
Yeah. Another question from the audience is, because what they ask, you wake up at 4, what time do you go to sleep? What is an optimal time? I like to go to bed at right when sun sets because it makes me feel like I'm not hanging over the evening or just waiting around. Or what time do you go to bed per the audience.
So I wear this thing here. It's called, I got a different band. It's called a Whoop 5.0. And it tells me, like today, it says I need to be in bed by 9:10. Man, I struggle getting to bed that early, but sometimes I go to bed. What happens to me is we don't watch TV anymore. So we don't even turn the TV on. So Cheryl and I have these porches on our house. They're all screened in. So I'll sit the next thing and I'll be like head back. I'll be sawing some logs for 30 minutes. If I could figure out how to get to bed by 9 o'clock every day, I'm good. But I'm not going to say, look, man, I don't do well on 6 hours sleep. I can do it for a couple of days. I'm not like some of these guys who, I can live on 6 hours. Shoot, man, you give me 6 hours sleep after a week, I'm sleeping. I'll take 2 naps on Saturday or Sunday. It just wipes me out. So 7 hours is what I try to get. So
7 hours,
9 to 4, maybe I get up 4:12. Like this morning was 4:12 when I got up. But then that's a little different story. But I need 7 hours.
Wow.
So I try to get to bed by 9.
Yeah. And then last question and then I know because your time, you have to be somewhere, is this in terms of workouts, because we have a question from the audience. He's saying he's a 4 a.m.er. He likes to get his workout in, and like towards the end of the day when his energy is low or he can't really do anything, he likes to go work out again. What are your thoughts on multiple workouts throughout the day?
If your body can handle it, I'm all for it. I did it a lot. I'm just older. It's a little harder on me to do. I don't tend to have the time, but it depends on how long your workout is. So to me, I would think maybe you could do a longer workout. Cause when I say I'm doing an hour and 45 minutes, I'm going to walk for 40 minutes with a 20-pound vest. Then I'm going to come in and do Tabatas, or I'm going to get on an assault bike. And then I'm going to do pull-ups, push-ups. I'm zipping through. It's fun to whoever asked that question good, because in the last couple of weeks, I started doing a electrolyte in the morning before my workout, and now all of a sudden in the evenings I'm like, I wonder if I should go work out. I haven't done it yet, but I have, because I live on a farm. I do go out and walk though.
Yeah.
So if you could physically do it, but your body's going to break down, because you got to be thinking about if you're 40. That all sounds great at 40, but when you're 62. You're going to feel that this thing where is only got limited miles. Walking is fantastic. I talked to my cardiologist. Like, people would just walk 30 minutes every other day. Their lives would get better. Yeah. So not everything is like pull-ups and 50-pound kettlebells. Go lighter kettlebells. I do a lot of everything I do is basically functional stuff. Yeah. I mean, people are like, oh, you're going to do heavy squats. I'm like, no, I go do 25, or I do sets of 30 air squats. Yeah. Do a set of 30 and then rest for 10 seconds, go do 5 pull-ups, and then drop back down and try to do 30 air squats again. It'll smoke your legs. So I'm not pumping big iron and I think my heaviest kettlebell is 44 pounds.
Yeah. Wow. It's fascinating.
Yeah. You just do a lot of them.
Yeah. I know some people do yoga or just very low impact, just kind of stretch, or calisthenics, Pilates, these types.
Yeah, I wish I stretched more. My goal is to be able to, excuse my language, it's called ass to the grass. So I like to I'm 62. I want to be able to get full squat and then stand back up. Yeah. And people are like, whoa, I'm like, you got to get up and go to the bathroom. And people you get to start thinking it's functional movements, right? Be able to grab a bag of groceries, things like that. It's functional movement. You can do a lot with push-ups, pull-ups, and set-ups.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And how can people find your podcast, your book? And I know, because you actually get booked for speaking engagements, how can people connect with you and all of that?
It's Larry G. Dix, LarryDix.com. I've also got bornormadepodcast.com. And then all my social media handles are Larry G. Dix. And then I've got Born or Made is my book. Fear is a liar, defeat is overrated. And then October 23rd, we should have it finished. Let's hope. I keep putting it out there. It's such pressure on me. Is Built Not Born. And that's going to be a great book. That's going to be better than my last book by far, because it really starts talking about a lot of biblical stuff that I'm really intrigued by and trying to understand, and how we were made in the image of God. And think about that. We are in the most complex machine ever invented in the universe. Yeah. And I'm just intrigued by this thing that, as a doctor, we breathe our heart. It's just it's amazing what we're capable. And that's when you go back to Goggins, right? What does he say? Like, when your brain tells you to shut off, you're only like 40%. Like for me, every time I hear that, I'm like, man, I suck. Yeah. I'm making it go 44 and go, man, I'm tapping out at 44. But he goes to 100. I think he said, if you go to 100, you're dead. I think that's what he says, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff, you can get a hold of me, reach out through me on my website. Love to help anybody out. I truly get as much joy out of helping people as I do anything I've ever done.
Excellent. I really enjoyed talking with you and just the spirit of entrepreneurship and keep up the great work.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for having me on. We'll have to reciprocate, get you on mine then, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, sounds great. Thank you very much.
Listen. That's the sound of the fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. The sound of captivating electric performance, dynamic drive, and the quiet confidence of ultra-smooth handling. The elevated interior reminds you this is more than an EV. This is electric performance redefined. The fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron.